The Italian explorer Giovanni di Verrazzano was the first European to reach what is now New Jersey in 1524. New Jersey began to be colonized in 1609 as a result of the efforts of the explorer Henry Hudson. In 1660, the Dutch established the first permanent settlement in what is now Jersey City, and 4 years later, 1664, the English took control of the entire colony, and the new English leaders issued a document known as the Concession and Agreement, providing the governmental structure for the colony of New Jersey. The Concession and Agreement guaranteed liberty of conscience to all religious sects who shall behave well. This guarantee of religious freedom was not yet provided by any of the other colonies, with the exception of Rhode Island, which was the home of the first settlement in the history of the world to guarantee religious freedom, just 26 years earlier in 1638. Because of the religious freedom in New Jersey, many people who had been persecuted for not conforming to the state church in other colonies moved to New Jersey. It is also a result of this early religious freedom in New Jersey that the Baptists have a rich history in the state. I'm holding a book titled A History of Baptists in New Jersey, a 542-page volume published in 1904, written by the 19th century Baptist preacher Thomas Sharp Griffiths. This book goes through the state of New Jersey town by town, giving the details of the history of the Baptists there. A man named Thomas Killingsworth was instrumental in establishing the first 3 Baptist churches in New Jersey. Very little is known about Killingsworth except that he was born in England, he was ordained to preach there, and then very soon after that he came to America and lived in New Jersey. He was appointed a judge in that colony, and he served faithfully in that post for years. Thomas Killingsworth helped establish the First Baptist Church in the state of New Jersey, in the town of Middletown. Here's how the Baptist historian David Benedict describes the founding of the First Baptist Church in New Jersey. For the origin of this church, we must look back to the year 1667, for that was the year when Middletown was purchased from the Indians by 12 men and 24 associates. Their names are in the town book. Of them, the following were Baptists, namely Richard Stout, John Stout, James Grover, Jonathan Brown, Obadiah Holmes, John Buckman, John Wilson, Walter Hall, John Cox, Jonathan Holmes, George Mount, William Cheeseman, William Layton, William Compton, James Ashton, John Brown, Thomas Whitlock, and James Grover Jr. The Baptist Church in Middletown is noted as being the earliest Baptist church south of Newport, Rhode Island. You may have recognized the name Obadiah Holmes, the man who was whipped for his Baptist faith in the colony of Massachusetts in 1651. But this man in the Baptist church in Middletown, New Jersey, was Obadiah Holmes Jr., the son of the better-known Obadiah Holmes Sr. Records indicate, however, that Obadiah Holmes Sr. was present at the founding of the church in Middletown, New Jersey. James Ashton, who is listed as one of the founding members of the church, was an ordained Baptist preacher, and he was the first pastor of the Baptist church in Middletown, and the first Baptist pastor in the state of New Jersey. James Ashton preached his first sermon in the home of Richard Stout in the nearby town of Holmdel. In 1689, the next Baptist church started in New Jersey was established in the town of Piscataway, and Thomas Killingsworth helped them get started. A man named Hansard Knollys had come to America from England in 1638, and he and his wife went to what is now Dover, New Hampshire, along the Piscataqua River, and helped a new colony establish a church. The church very soon became a Baptist church, but before long, a newcomer caused division in the church. He led the church to get rid of their pastor and make him their new pastor. Hansard Knollys returned to England to help his ailing father, and the members of the church in Dover who stayed true to Baptist doctrine moved their families to Long Island. They thrived in Long Island for over 20 years. But when the English took over New York in 1664, these Baptists who had moved from Dover, New Hampshire, found themselves under persecution again. They learned of the freedom to worship in the colony of New Jersey, and so all of those families moved from Long Island to New Jersey and established a new town, which they named after the Piscataqua River, along which they had lived in New Hampshire. They called the town Piscataway. They formed a Baptist church there, and Thomas Killingsworth ordained one of their men to be the pastor. Next, Killingsworth moved to the town of Cohansey and helped a group of Irish immigrants start a church, which was the third Baptist church in New Jersey's history. And Thomas Killingsworth became their pastor. So, a Baptist preacher and civil judge named Thomas Killingsworth helped start the first 3 Baptist churches in New Jersey. And he pastored the third church for 19 years until his death in 1709. Christian, planting new churches is an essential part of your Christian faith. Stay the course.